Kriya Babaji Nama Aum. Om 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 Kriya Babaji Nama Aum. Nama Aum. Om Kriya Babaji Nama Aum. Om Kriya Babaji Nama Aum. Thank you.
Test. Welcome, everyone. What a glorious day, right? It's like the second day after a rainstorm in Southern California. It doesn't get better, right? It's soaked into the ground. The grass has popped up. The trees are happy. The birds are happy. The squirrels are more than happy. Welcome. And thank you, Robert Fields, for that. We haven't seen Robert. Go ahead.
Less hair.
Robert had more hair in 2005 when we last saw him. So it's a pleasure to have him back. He was here, though, for your meditation intensive, I believe, doing the flute. So we're lucky to have you and your musical talents. And, of course, we're very fortunate today to have our East meets West Buddhist teacher, Craig. So thank you, Craig. All right, we're going to be adding a new element to our order of service, and this is called a moment of gratitude. And Jean-Claude brought this to our attention last week, that without a moment of gratitude, appreciating special efforts can fall through the cracks. And we actually had some very large efforts fall through the cracks, so we're hoping to make amends for that, and then moving forward, put in a reliable system so it doesn't happen again. So we never gave a proper thank you to our prayer chaplains for taking the initiative to create the remembrance ceremony or to facilitate our on-campus experience for World Day of Prayer. So please, all prayer chaplains who participated in the planning and the execution of the remembrance ceremony and or our World Day of Prayer, please stand and be recognized. Every one of you. Thank you, Mara. Thank you. Thank you. We're so sorry that we didn't do this earlier. Please forgive us. We're human. And Jean-Claude, thank you for pointing that out to us. As a current gratitude, so we don't get far behind now, right? Reliable system, now we're caught up. We'd also like to give a shout out to Annette and her band for last Sunday's event. The men of Unity of Tustin, the Mutts for the barbecue, the pulled pork. Our hospitality volunteers who were just amazing and didn't stop working the whole time. And to everyone involved in our AIF kickoff celebration last weekend. So please, thank you very much. So regarding AIF, which is Adventures in Faith, we have 3 groups still with some space for additional members. So on the back table, you'll see 3 clipboards. We have Monday nights on Zoom, which our board member, Kathy, where are you, Kathy? Kathy is hosting right there. So if you want to be on Zoom with Kathy, We have Wednesday nights in Brea. Kirk is our facilitator, but the Brzezinski's house is the location. So wave your hands. Good. And Kirk, there you go. And then Saturday morning, right here in Victoria House, for those of you who are local, and Jack will be hosting that. I don't think Jack is here yet, right? Jack's not here yet. So if you're interested, please sign up. The other ones are full. Also on the back table, we have Christy created a small little packlet for you that's a guided course in the Adventures in Faith. And then for those of you who want the book, as you know, we reprinted it. It was out of print, and we've reprinted it, and it's in the back at our cost. So even if you're not participating in AIF, it's a phenomenal book, and I would urge you to get that. Two more things. New member classes. We're growing. We have passed the rescue stage, salvage and rescue stage, and we're now in the growth phase, and it's very exciting, and we thank everyone for your role in that. Next Sunday from 1 to 2:30, we'll have an in-person meeting in the sanctuary for new members. So those of you who are interested, in your packet today, you'll see a new member application. Fill that out. For those of you who have friends that have come in the past and that aren't here, get that to them, because we need to have some kind of idea of how many people might be participating. So that's next Sunday in the sanctuary, 1 to 2:30. And then for those who are interested, the following week, 10/24, during the service, we'll be having our first spiritual baptism in over a year and a half. So that's going to be very exciting. This will be for new members who have completed the course, and of course for any existing members who wish to rededicate themselves. So that's our new and updated message for you. Oh, there's another one. As you know, Erin Hosteller has taken over the youth and family ministry, and as such, she had to vacate her board position, which she just did admirably as our vice president. And the board unanimously supported and appointed Deanne Parks. And I don't know if Deanne is here. Is Deanne here? There's Deanne. Deanne, could you stand for just a moment? Everyone give her a round of applause. We are so fortunate to have Deanna. And did something come out yet from us? No. There'll be something that comes out. Her resume is amazing. She has children in our youth and family ministry. She's grounded spiritually, personally, professionally. We're so lucky to have her. She's going to be an incredible addition. Thank you, Deanna. And then as always, I'll be at the back table for any of you that have any questions or comments or needs in any way I can help you and be of service. Please don't hesitate. Love you. All right, Robert.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Good morning. I'm Mary Stevens, prayer chaplain, and I'm going to light the Christ candle. This candle represents the eternal flame that burns within each of us as the highest expression of Christ. And the word for today is joy. Awakening from a restful sleep, I give thanks for the new day and all the people who are part of it. Although I can't know how this day will unfold, I remind myself that everything and everyone might lead me to a greater awareness of God. This growing awareness is my greatest joy. Even if the day includes less than happy experiences, I know the quiet joy and comforting strength of the peaceful presence of God is there with me, always. I will rejoice today in being alive, able to think, feel, appreciate the sights, sounds, smells, that fill my environment, and I will discover joy anew as I see each and every person as the expression of the divine in person. The scripture is from the Psalms 118, verse 24. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And our affirmation is, a growing awareness of God's presence is my greatest joy. So let's say that together. A growing awareness of God's presence is my greatest joy.
Here and now, quietly resting here in the peace, we give ourselves space to be here and now. Here we are in the yard, listening to the breeze, quietly resting here in the peace we give ourselves space to be here and now. Resting here in the peace we give ourselves space to be here and now. Here and now.
So here and now, let's close our eyes for a moment. Perhaps your eyes are already closed from that beautiful meditative music that Robert just gave us. Here and now. Here and now. Beloved God, Tao, great silence, the ocean of awareness, bless us today with the willingness to let go of our busy minds our problems, our beliefs, our limitations, our concepts, of all that we think we know, so that we can learn what we don't yet know, so we can see what is not yet here, and embrace what is not yet clear. Let us truly rest this morning, unburdened of the thinking mind, open and free in this simplicity, this grace, the reality that is present only here and now, to the mind that is quiet and still. In the quiet mind, everything flows. As we take a breath, we can repeat the affirmation for today that I'll be speaking about. My mind is now quiet. And in that quiet mind now, we're going to be welcoming a member of the Unity community, Arlene Paget, who has been a part of the community for over 25 years. And Arlene has graciously given her energy today to come and to speak to us during this adventure in faith that we're on about her place and her role and what she has found here as being a part of the Unity community. So let's welcome Arlene.
It's on. Yes,
Now it is.
there it is. I'll tell you, Craig, my mind is not quiet. It is dancing. It is dancing with joy and gratitude, and I want you to think these words as I say them. I am alive, alert, joyous, and enthusiastic about life, and so it is. This morning, I want to let you know a little bit about who I am. I'm married to Bill McCombs, a tither, and a one-time giver, but Bill does not do anything by ones, so he is a multiple giver of special gifts to this church. I want to talk about givers, and to do that, I want to take you on a mental garden walk through our meditation gardens, and I'm going to mention a few names in gratitude. Oh, and I want to tell you that as the planes come over, please know they are bringing prosperity to Orange County. So we welcome them. The more, the better. Okay, let's start our garden walk together. As we enter through the arbor, Vaughn Arison created that arbor for us. And on your right, the first statue, Let There Be Light, Kate and Robert Griffith. A little beyond that, there is kind of an in-between site, but very important. It has the 7 stepping stones of the 7 chakras and a gorgeous teak bench, which I happened to have priced 1 million years ago and ran about $1,500. Thank you, Patty Higgins. The Rose Garden started by the founders of Common Ground. And if you're from Common Ground, I want to tell you, this is your mother church. All right. The Rose Garden. Glenda and Fred Knox, Judy and Dennis DePreet, and Mother Alice, I don't know her last name. maintained by Bill McCombs. All right, Site 2, the water wall. Originally constructed by the Dupreets and the Knoxes and several friends, but more recently rebuilt, restructured, redone to the tune of almost $12,000 by the Truetts and the Tyners under the direction of Martin Ribbons. Then we come to Site 4. Let's see, we've got, Site 3 I missed. The beautiful Asian screen and fountain, the Truetts, Tim and Cherie Truett. Beyond that, Site 4, the solar system, the solstice. Reverend Karen Epps and her husband at that time, Jim Coleman. Now you'll pass on up to Site 5, the koi pond. Now it's a hole. But at one point, we had live koi. And again, that was a gift of the Dupreets and the Knoxes and a whole cadre of people. And I remember Dennis Dupreet on a bobcat digging that hole. Right across from that, St. Joseph's Garden, right in the patio of Hummingbird House. Beautiful arbor and seat created by Von Arison again. Moving to Site 6, very special site, the Mystical Marriage, inspired by Bud Britt, paid for and maintained beautifully by Pam and Arnie Basinski. Site 7, I'm a little unclear. Site 7 is, as you are along the meditation path, you take a left, and there is seating there and some beautiful Asian-style jars. So let's just say, because I really don't know, thank you, God. And it could have been general fund. Then we move on to the major part of Site 7 is the 7 major religions, and that was created, I'm not completely sure, but I know that giant boulder that you can sit on, Martin Ribbons. Site 8, the waterfall, Chen and Diane de Kramer, and Bill and I lovingly call that de Kramer Falls. The walkway, all the way around, the granite, the crushed granite and the brick, Judy Wright Aiken. On the top of the classroom building, you never ever see it, but believe me, it's there. Solar system helps us mitigate the expense of the electricity system for our campus. Our campus is like a beautiful woman. It's high maintenance. So keep that in mind. Now, how did all this happen? This was an orange grove, you know. Well, we have to thank Reverend Marge Britt. Reverend Marge established within this community a consciousness of tithing, and she did that by example. Now, I can tell you a lot of stories about the many ways Marge gave to us in the spiritual world, but also in the physical world. One of them that stands out in my mind, we had a gala, a fundraiser, and various folks were asked to donate something of significant value so that we could do a silent auction. Marge owned, at that time, a beautiful semi-precious stone necklace. I remember it was the kind of thing that if you had a big bosom, it would be like a display case that you could show this. Marge donated her necklace, which she dearly loved, and of course at the gala, I had to make a bid. I just had to. My intention was to buy that necklace and give it back to Marge. Well, when I went to sign up, the price had already gone to $175. I took a breath and I wrote down $176. Thank you, God, because that would have been one of, probably at that time, a week's salary for me. Thank you, God, somebody outbid me. I don't know if Marge ever saw that necklace again, but please, Marge, know it lives in my heart, and I know in yours. Another thing that Marge brought to us that was so special was a speaker program. Now, these were speakers that we know the names of today, but at that time, they were kind of unknown, sparkling stars out in the ethers, not yet recognized. So I want to see if I can remember a few. Byron Katie, Adia Shante, Ken Wilbur, Eckhart Tolle, how could I forget that? Dr. Phil, no, not Dr. Phil, not Dr. Phil. Thank you, you're with me, I love it. But she introduced us to some great spiritual leaders of our current modern times. Now, as Marge's time with us kind of wound down and she decided to retire, we had Reverend Carolyn come on board. Now, Reverend Carolyn, from where I am in my lifetime, was a young minister. So she was not so enthusiastic about spreading the consciousness of tithing. She was, because at that point, we had the campus pretty well together. And I don't know about you, it's more fun to buy new things than it is to take care of the ones you already have. So as a result, now Carolyn was into programs, and under her guidance, we had a thriving youth and family ministry, and some of our graduates are here. I love you, love you. All right. But what happened over the 7 years of Carolyn's tenure was, let's say, delayed maintenance. So then the next person in charge, not really, but kind of, was Reverend Clive. And he certainly understood about money, but not so much about tithing. Now, where are we now? Well, thanks to this board being open and willing to pick up the pieces and get this place back in shape. Thank you, God. It is no accident. The president of our board is a medical doctor, and he is here to resuscitate this campus. So thank you, Jim. So what have they done? Well, I'm not on the board. I'm not on the inside. But from the outside, they've taken magnificent care of these grounds. Magnificent care of these grounds. They've refurbished the buildings. And as you look around, it's not just a matter of one or two. It's multiple buildings. Tenting, repairing, chasing the termites out to the neighbors, whatever. All right. And there is another example of where your tithes and gifts are going. More importantly, I want to talk about one-time gifts. When I say one-time gifts, that comes from the tithers primarily. And it's not one time. These folks step up time and again when that need is so pressing. So for you, I send you my love, my joy, and my deepest, deepest gratitude. Now, in closing, I need 3 ushers to come forward. Very quickly, I have a visual for you. So 3 ushers, I need you up front, real quick. Now, this inspiration came from, I want you to each take a box, and I want you, thank you, God, for Trader Joe's. I want you to take the contents of this bag, dump it into your boxes, and show the people what it is. All right. I want you to dump it into those boxes, and I want you to distribute it to everybody on this campus. All right? Now, it's a visual. Where did it come from? Well, the inspiration came from God, but the original, and pass it out to the folks. Everyone take one, please. Or two, whatever. All right. Now, the original came from Catherine Titnish. No. Oh, I've got one. Thank you. Catherine Titnish taught the tithing class, the 4T. 4T is the tithing of your time, your talent, and your treasure. All right. So if you are one of the folks on campus that's always here, you're always giving, you're always loving, you're always kind, but you're a little light on the treasure side, listen up. Listen up, because if you're doing 3 out of the 4, it's like sitting in a 3-legged chair. It might look good for a while, but there's no substance. No substance. And substance is in the physical. God has given us all that we need and more. And that's why tithing is so important, because it makes us aware of our prosperity all around us. Now, tithing is 10%, not 9, not 3, 10% of your total income. If you win the lottery, guess what? 10%. Thank you, Unity of Tustin. All right. Now, have you all gotten your dollar bill? Raise your hand if you don't. We got to get those ushers moving more quickly. Okay. The power of one was way back in the day, and it was a keychain that was given to the significant contributors to this church. I decided to resurrect the power of one, and here's my take on it. A few years ago, Bill and I went to the Presbyterian Church, which is just gorgeous, and it's on the corner of Tustin and Prospect on, 17th and Prospect, and it looks like an inverted Noah's Ark. It's a Presbyterian church, very prosperous, very prosperous. All right. We went to a Christmas concert, and during the service, the ushers came down, and they passed an open basket through the aisles, one by one, and everyone put in their love offering. Much to my total dismay, there were ones, but there were more 5s and 10s and 20s than I've seen in a basket in my entire life. I loved it. I said to Reverend Carolyn, we ought to get rid of those blue bags. Nobody can see what's going on there. And she goes, Arlene, that is not the Unity way. Well, guess what? Reverend Carolyn isn't here this morning. And so what I want you to do, and I'm going to break a tradition, I hope I smash it. And that tradition is that as the blue Unity offering bags comes around, those that give electronically or by check or in some other mode than in the physical action would take the bag, put their hand over their heart, or they would wave their hand over the bag and pass it to their neighbor. I'm going to tell you a story about that. A friend of mine brought a guest, and the Unity bag came around, and he observed one person after the other not putting anything into the bag, but waving their hand over the bag. And he said afterwards, you know what? I thought that bag was for a donation, but people are doing hocus pocus over it. I was going to put money in it. Okay, so do you get my point? So for you tithers and electronic givers or once a month givers, and I am guilty of this as anybody else, and I will own it, I've let that bag go by me. But I want you to be in the present moment. Don't miss an opportunity to give. And this morning, you have no excuse because you should all have $1 at least to go in that Unity bag. And God help whoever has to count this money this morning. So there you are. Be aware that prosperity comes through giving, and live and breathe freely in great joy. Namaste.
Let's close our eyes together if you haven't already and just listen for a moment. Let there be a little shift from listening to the voice in your head to the mind to just listening very, very deeply to the sounds of life appearing around you. Listen as if with every cell in your body. You might lift your interior gaze slightly so that you can focus even more. And from that deep space, as we move more deeply into meditation, into the quiet mind today, let's listen to these words from Lao Tzu. The Tao doesn't come and go. It is always present everywhere, just like the sky. If your mind is clouded, you won't see it. But that doesn't mean it isn't there. All misery is created by the activity of the mind. Can you let go of words and ideas, attitudes and expectations? If so, then the Tao will loom into view. Can you be still and look inside? If so, then you will see that the truth is always available and always responsive. The first step toward really listening is to be silent. When we hear this way, we hear clearly the voice of God, the voice of the Tao here with us today. So as we listen deeply, let's bring awareness to our breathing as well. Feel how good it feels to breathe while you listen. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. Just feel the breath flowing into your still body. Feel the sensation as it moves through your nose. And notice how receptive the body is to your breath. It's like a gift to the body. Like the breeze touching your skin now. Feel it all the way in. And flow with it all the way out. Listening and breathing. Let everything else go. Let go of the rocks and the burdens in your life. Let go of everything that is not right now. And as you draw your next in-breath, for a few rounds, let's repeat that beautiful phrase that Shara introduced from John Selby's book last week. Just repeat to yourself as you listen and breathe, I am breathing freely. I am breathing freely. What a gift. You may notice that this kind of breathing, when you repeat that phrase like a mantra, your listening gets even more clear. You can feel your body even more present in your chair. Your senses become alive to the present moment. As we continue to breathe this way, we're going to direct our breath this morning also through an opening in our chest. Just get a sense of your breath flowing through that opening into the space of your heart. If there's heaviness in your chest, and sometimes when you breathe this way, you might be surprised that you're holding there anxiety, fear, tension, depression, sadness. Breathe it out. Let the breath soften your heart. Breathe it out. Breathe that negativity out like black smoke out of your body. Be completely absorbed in your breath, flowing into the heart, but also still notice that you can feel the breath flowing through your nose. In fact, let's let the breath flow through our forehead today like a breeze, not just through the nose. Through the forehead, through the chest, into the heart, aware of both points. Some of you are still listening very, very deeply as you do this. As you continue to breathe this way and listen, let's introduce the mantra for this week from John Selby's book. Just for a few moments, repeat to yourself, "My mind is now quiet." My mind is now quiet. And now on the in-breath, just repeat the word mind. And on the out-breath, repeat the word quiet. Mind, quiet. Now let the mantra go. Rest for a few moments in that openness, the spaciousness of your own being, here and now. As I do every Sunday, I invite those of you that are deep in meditation, continue to have your eyes closed while I speak for a few moments. We tend to think that meditation is just with our eyes closed, that it's a special time, and now we go on to hearing what I have to say. Let me reassure you, what I have to say is not that important. What you're doing right now, being present, your breathing, right here and now, that's the key. That's the whole point of meditation. What you're sitting in right now, not what you're thinking about. Is your mind quiet now? Look and see. By the way, it's good to remember this. Having a quiet mind doesn't mean that your mind disappears. That's not the point. All of us want, if we're honest, some form of a quiet mind. Because there is something inside of us that understands that until the mind is quiet, we will not have peace inside. In fact, we won't have peace in the world. If we look at the problems in the world right now, this is all created by humanity's collective mind. And traditionally, the way that people come to this quiet is what we're doing today. It's called meditation. Being still, noticing what is present to you right now. A lot of people think when they come to meditation that they have to annihilate the mind or get rid of it. Those of you who have meditated for a while, you know it's ridiculous. Don't bother. You save yourself a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of effort if you just let that concept be. The mind has a place. It moves. It's good at making an airline reservation when you need it. It's good at looking at a recipe. But for solving our problems and living in peace, living in this flow that happens through a quiet mind, the mind is not very good, is it? If we're honest. The mind creates a lot of anxiety inside of us. The story of me and defending me and judging others. The mind is very, very busy, isn't it? Especially these days. My experience is that the mind is getting busier and busier and busier. And out of this, human beings, some, are really, really wishing for a quiet mind. We want to return to that peace within, or I like to call it inner freedom. So we come to a meditation practice, as some of you are doing through the Adventure in Faith during these weeks. We're in the second week of this. We kicked it off a little more than a week ago with a beautiful retreat. And for those of you that were at the Friday night that I kicked off, I invited everybody, especially those who have a hard time with meditation. And we can feel guilty about that because we hear over and over from just about every teacher, every master, that the way to a quiet mind, the way to peace is through meditation. In fact, I say this over and over. In my experience, there's no other way. No other way. I always invite people, if you find another way, please come and enlighten me about that. And I mean it. But there are people that have a hard time just sitting and breathing and being with what is. Can you imagine? What could be more simple than what you're sitting in today? Sound of the birds, beautiful sunshine. Meditation's happening right now for some of you if you're present. With one mindful breath, you come home. You're here and now. Meditation is happening, and your mind is quiet. Notice. Sound of the waterfall, the breeze. All of this is meditation, Zen. But we have a hard time with this because our mind is filled with ideas and concepts and stress and worry. We're trying to think our way into that state of peace, and it is futile, isn't it? You cannot think your way into what I'm pointing at today. But if you relax, take yourself off the hook. It's here. There's a great Zen story about this, and some of you have probably heard one form or another of this story. And as I always point out, this story may have some historical roots. Probably this did happen in some form. And it has to do with a wonderful Zen teacher that lived during the late 1800s, early 1900s in Japan. His name was Nanni. And so, the word spread out far and wide, as it usually does, that there was an enlightened master in this monastery. A Zen master, really. A master of meditation. A master of meditation in the way that I'm pointing at it today. Not just when he sits formally and goes into that deep, deep space that we're in now, but the meditation master that can listen to the plane and not be bothered. Such a beautiful teaching. The meditation master that can meditate serenely even as the planes go by or the dogs bark or his friends don't like him. So the word went out, and there was a professor, an intellect that was at the nearby city at the university. He said, I need to go talk to this Zen master. I want to find out what this Zen is because I've got all my ideas about Zen. So he set off and he arrived at the monastery, and he was ushered into Nannin's reception room. And he didn't even sit down before he started saying, listen, I've been thinking about this Zen. And I've come to discuss this with you today. I want to know what your ideas are about Zen. And Nanni said, let's wait. Let's have tea first. And so the attendant got tea. He brought it. All the time that the tea was being gotten, the professor he couldn't hold back. Listen, I think I've got this Zen figured out, but you're a master, so I've come for teaching. Can you hear me? There we go. So Nanni said, he just sat there, and when the tea came, he began to pour it in this man's cup. And as he poured, the cup began to overfill. It began to spill all over the table. It began to spill on this man's robes onto the floor. And finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He said, wait a minute, stop. He said, you're spilling this tea everywhere. It's overflowing and it's full. And Nanni smiled and he said, yes, your mind is just like this teacup, full of its own ideas, its own concepts, its own beliefs, and what you know. Empty your mind, and then I can show you Zen. What a beautiful story that is. Lao Tzu said it this way. In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things until finally you arrive at the Tao. This quiet mind that we seek cannot be found in adding more to our mind, more concepts, more words, more beliefs. Every day we can drop one of those until our mind becomes lighter and freer, and then meditation. Meditation happens spontaneously. Can't force our way into that. We have to be still. We don't have to be. We become still, and then the natural state of meditation comes. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this. Where's the microphone at? Yeah, here, I got it. That way we can stay with this. Hello? So last Friday when we started, I invited everybody to make a commitment to themselves, particularly those who have a hard time with sitting still and coming to meditation. We're in the second week now of the Adventure in Faith. Maybe some of you have taken up that offer and you've been sitting every day, doing just a little bit of meditation. Again, 10 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be an hour. But just sitting quietly, using one of the techniques that you've been given, perhaps the technique you've been given today. We're going to finish in a moment with a little more meditation on loving kindness, which people really resonate with and love. Whatever resonates, but stick to one. You have 5 more weeks. I said on Friday, can you imagine what might happen if you just meditate every day through the remainder of the Adventure in Faith? Follow with John Selby's wonderful book. See for yourself. You know, we tend to hear these teachings from the masters and we go, you know, that's good for them. But for me, I have a busy life. I don't know, I just don't have time. Even though we may get on YouTube and we think we're going to spend 10 minutes looking at something, and an hour later we're watching cats run around the room. Right? There's so many distractions in life. We say we want peace. Are we willing to have the discipline to sit? Because this does require discipline. I talked about this on Friday. Discipline's become a very dirty word, an ugly word for people now. We don't really want to have the discipline that it takes to see what the fruits of meditation might bring. I likened it to playing the guitar. You cannot learn to play the guitar by playing once a month or once a week. You can't learn to do what Robert does by sitting down at the keyboard, once every blue moon and expecting just to play. Meditation is the same kind of practice. When you sit regularly, this quiet mind that I'm pointing at and that many of you are feeling today, it arises quite naturally. Very quick story about the Dalai Lama. He was having a conference in Dharamsala some time ago, and sometimes he'll invite scientists in or other people, teachers, and they'll come for conference and they'll dialogue with His Holiness, they'll meditate with him, he gives Dharma talks. So he was having one of these conferences, and this woman got up toward the end and she said, you know, all I've heard you talking about is meditation and being quiet, doing these practices. And she said, you know what? I have 3 kids at home. And I'm a soccer mom, and I have a job. I'm going from morning to night. I don't have time. The Dalai Lama leaned forward, and the story is he got very fiery. Can you imagine? The fire that can come from the guru. He looked at her and he pointed at her and he said, listen to me. I get up in the morning and I meditate and do my practices for 4 hours. And then I take care of the affairs of state for the Tibetan people. And I'm the Dalai Lama. If I can find 4 hours for practice, you can find 20 minutes in your busy life. He didn't coddle her. He didn't say that's okay. He didn't accept that excuse. So whatever your mind is telling you about why you can't, override it. Discipline. Sit anyway. You'll be so glad that you did. I always tell people that if you commit to a regular meditation practice for even 3 to 4 weeks, 21 days, 40 days, it is likely that you will meditate the rest of your life regularly because of what you find. Those of you that meditate regularly know what I'm talking about. You wouldn't go without it any more than you would go without drinking water or eating. So take this into your heart today. And remember this quiet mind that we all want, it's right here now. It's available to us even as the sirens go by. The plane flies overhead. There's always going to be this in some form, isn't there? Some distraction, something telling us, oh my God, I don't have peace. That's the point. The masters who have attained anything, it's a great wealth to them because of what they had to go through to know that. And it's worth it. So let your appointment every day when you wake up be with God first, and then see how your day flows from that. See what happens. The mind is not the problem. When you meditate, let the mind be. You're not trying, as I said, to get rid of it or subjugate it or dissolve it. Good luck. You'll never do it. Your mind may become really, it may dissolve for moments and then it reasserts itself, right? Like a hangover. There it is. Oh my God, you came back. I thought I was free of you. And then there's more thinking, right? No, that's not the point. Most of my students that have attained a depth in their meditation practice, they get to a point, and I can sum it up this way. When they're sitting to meditate, they drop into a state where they absolutely do not care what they're thinking about. Please hear this. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being in a state where you are resting in awareness and your mind is just, it's doing what it does, maybe a little quieter, but you're not hooked by that mind. You don't really care what it's up to. That to me is a very, very deep meditation. And it takes practice to get there so that we're not hooked over and over and over. So please remember that. Be easy on yourself. We're going to move into a little bit of loving kindness meditation. Because what I find is that meditating on loving kindness can give us a very easy access to a joyful and calm mind. Cultivating loving kindness and compassion for ourselves and then radiating that into the world. In my view, this is the meditation for our time. This is what we need. All of us are wondering what we can do right now. What we can do for the world, for our loved ones who are suffering so greatly in their minds, right? Loving kindness, compassion, joy. We can bring that into the world. And it's such a natural outflowing that meditation becomes effortless. It's wonderful. So we're going to practice that. We'll probably go a little long today, but that's okay. It's worth it, okay? So I'm going to invite everybody to close their eyes as I'm going to read a teaching. Some of you that were there on Friday heard me read this as I opened my comments. I'm not going to tell you, for those who haven't heard it, I'm not going to tell you who this teaching came from. I'll tell you after I read it. But all of you know this teacher. A scientifically controlled study conducted by German researchers at the University of Kassel has shown that while the chest area of an average person emits only 20 photons of light per second, someone who meditates on their heart center and sends love and light to others emits an amazing 100,000 photons per second. That is 5,000 times more than the average human being. Numerous studies have also shown that when these photons are infused with a loving and healing intent, their frequency and vibration increases to the point where they can literally change matter, heal disease, and transform negative events. 10 minutes of meditating on compassion, on kindness for others, and you will see its effects all day. That's the way to maintain a calm and joyous mind. From the Book of Joy, Lasting Happiness in a Changing World by the Dalai Lama. If you haven't, close your eyes again. As you close your eyes, know that you're coming to this meditation not only for yourself today, but for the upliftment of all sentient beings. Here's the way that you can serve. First, yourself. The Buddha was clear that when we do loving kindness practice, we focus on ourselves first. For those of you that have a hard time with self-worth, you beat up on yourself a lot, the Buddha was clear. Just focus on yourself at first. Eventually, and we'll do this today, we can bring one of our loved ones into this field of loving kindness, someone that you love unconditionally. Eventually, you can expand to an acquaintance or a neighbor, a coworker. You can expand out to somebody in your life that you know is suffering greatly. Even to the person that perhaps you've had an argument with and haven't spoken to for a number of years, somebody that irritates you or agitates you. And then finally you expand to include Mother Earth and all sentient beings. What a practice, the practice for our time. We already did some of it at the beginning of our time together today. It's very easy and it feels good. As you rest now, bring awareness to your breathing again. Breathe open fully. The breath, as Shara talked about last week, as I talk about every time I'm here, it is such a beautiful focal point of meditation. Why is that? Traditionally, why did the Buddha and the other masters focus on the breath for meditation? It's very simple. When you are absorbed in your breath, you are absorbed in the present moment, are you not? You cannot be with your breath and be elsewhere right now. You can't be flowing off into the future or thinking about a conversation you had yesterday. To be with your breath, you are here and you are now. Notice that. And as you breathe open, feel your breath again flowing through your chest into your heart. Feel how good that feels. And just simply know that your breath today is infused with loving kindness, compassion, and joy. And breathe this light, this breath of loving kindness, compassion, and joy into your heart. Open. Feel the heart filling with this great light of loving kindness, compassion, and joy. Feel that energy in your chest. If you're holding on to anything still, any resistance, breathe it out right now. Let it go. Your heart filling with loving kindness, compassion, which for me, compassion means you are doing the best that you can right now. Are you not? This is true of every person you meet, no matter how your mind may judge them. Feel your heart now filled with loving kindness, with compassion and joy for you, just as you are. As you breathe out now, let this loving kindness, compassion, and joy radiate through your chest. Don't worry, you don't need to visualize. Just intend this. You can visualize if you want. Just feel it. Radiating from your chest, from your body, out into the field around you, out about 3 feet, like you're the sun, radiating the light of loving kindness, compassion, joy. And today we're going to radiate it a little further. As you continue to breathe loving kindness, compassion, and joy into your own heart, radiate out further into the field. Radiate it out so that it encompasses every person that is here with you for the service today. Again, you don't have to visualize, just feel it. Everybody enveloped in your light of loving kindness, compassion, and joy. And now as we breathe in, we can breathe the light from all of these beautiful hearts. Breathe that light of loving kindness from their hearts back into your own. You'll notice that increases the feeling of loving kindness, compassion, and joy in your own heart. You might also notice right here that your mind is quiet and calm and joyful right now. It's not disturbing you. And now finally we're going to breathe out collectively, breathing this energy of loving kindness, compassion, and joy. Breathe it out beyond the space we're in and let it encircle the entire planet with light. Feel Mother Earth celebrating the attention we're giving her as she's brought into balance and harmony. And from around Mother Earth, let's breathe this light down, directing it to the hearts of all sentient beings. As we breathe in again, we can breathe the breath of loving kindness from every being on this planet into the field of our heart and body. And now we're just simply going to repeat this phrase to ourselves. You can do this earlier in the meditation before you send it out, but now is beautiful as well. Just repeat these words to yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness, compassion, and joy. And now repeating, may all beings be filled with loving kindness, compassion, and joy. That is the practice of loving kindness. For those of you that have a hard time meditating or want to do that practice during the next 5 weeks of the Adventure in Faith, it's a pretty good practice. And as we heard the Dalai Lama say, even 10 minutes of that practice, which we at least did 10 minutes right now, is the way to a quiet, calm, and joyful mind. That's because the Buddhas understand that what you give away, you get back 100 times more powerfully. Same principle that we heard from Arlene. Same thing. What you give away returns to you even more powerfully. Be mindful of what you're giving away to your space. What you radiate, you attract. And loving kindness practice is a way to attract and resonate more deeply and deeply in a force of loving kindness, the power of compassion, the beauty of uncaused joy. I dedicate this practice that we've done today for the upliftment and the enlightenment of all sentient beings. I dedicate it to the healing of our Mother Earth. And I especially thank my dear friend Frank Lane, who's here today, who sent me that teaching from the Dalai Lama a couple of weeks ago, and it has moved me profoundly. And I've shared it with so many people since then. Practice that in your life. See what happens. Not a day or two. Stay with it and see what happens.
Thank you, Craig. From that place of compassion, loving kindness, joy, we'd like to welcome anyone who might be here for the very first time today. If you are here for the first time and would be willing to raise your hands, our ushers have a welcome packet for you. Please raise your hands high so they can come and find you. Inside that welcome packet, you'll find an information card, and if you'll fill that out, one of the members of our spiritual ministry team will be in contact with you and invite you to have a conversation with her, Shara Mashinska. Also, we'll put you on our weekly email list so that you can learn about all the different classes that we have on a weekly basis, and also so that you can stay informed about upcoming events as well. It's our pleasure to welcome you today, and we're so glad that you're here. And if you're online with us for the first time, if you'll send an email to unity@unitytustin.org, we'd be happy to send you some welcome information as well. Whoever and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. We've also come to the time of receiving those tithes and those love offerings that Arlene so beautifully taught us about and brought us into the heart of a practice of giving and receiving. And so as you hold your tithes and your love offerings in your hand, as we each have one today, I invite you to come into your heart as together we say our love offering blessing. Together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And as our ushers do pass those love offering bags, Robert Fields has another musical gift to share.
Thank you. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. In this world have trials and tribulations. We may have hard times and dark nights of the soul. But there's a blessing that comes to us and conquers it all. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Now in this world we may have trials and tribulations. We may have hard times and dark nights of the soul. But there's a blessing that comes to us and conquers it all. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Help me sing it. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Come on, now here we go. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Let me hear ya. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Oh, love heals, love heals, love heals us all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. So we take a moment here to bless these love offerings. Divine Oneness, we receive these tithes and love offerings with deep gratitude for the ways that you show up in our lives and express in and through and as us, as the gifts that we share. And we dedicate these gifts as well to the upliftment of our community here at Unity of Tustin and beyond. And so it is. Amen. As we begin to bring our service to a close, just a couple of quick reminders. Our prayer chaplains will be over at the entrance to the meditation gardens to pray with you. If you have anything you'd like to hold in sacred space, a gratitude or a concern, they'll be there to meet with you. We also have a prayer box, so if you prefer, you can write a prayer request in the box, and that will be passed along to our prayer chaplains and held in that sacred space for 30 days. And then it also goes on to Unity worldwide, silent unity. You may also pick up a copy. We have a few copies left of our Adventure in Faith book. It's in the bookstore. We have more on order, so they'll be coming in this week. You can also find it on Amazon. There's a couple of used books I've seen there, and you can also get a Kindle version, the e-version, if you're interested. So there's many ways you can participate and read that book. Again, as Jim reminded us, there's an information table, so you can sign up for one of the Adventure in Faith groups that are left if you would like to do so. We'll be around after the service to answer any questions you might have and to connect with those of you who are newcomers. So as we begin to now bring our service to a close, let's say together Unity's prayer for protection, which you can find in your bulletin if you're new. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless.
Trials and tribulations, we may have Love heals, love heals us. Y'all come back now here. Thank you.